Jimmy Fallon. Much like fellow Dick, President George W. Bush, Fallon has somehow failed upward his entire career. In a matter of years, he went from generic guitar-playing stand-up comic to SNL cast member who laughs at his own jokes to Weekend Update co-host with strategically mussed hair. Then he defied all Hollywood odds by continuing to book movie roles despite a lack of any discernible talent and a track record of making films that people actively avoid seeing. Failing onward and upward, he has now been announced as successor to Conan O'Brien on NBC's late-night program. If this pattern continues, it is only a matter of time before Fallon is doing a subpar job of hosting the Oscars. Raised upstate in Saugerties, Fallon and his sister would often reenact the clean parts, which is to say, least funny parts, of Saturday Night Live that their parents had taped for them. This early exposure to only the unfunny portions of Saturday Night Live can be credited with nurturing Fallon's savant-like ability to appear exclusively in the unfunny portions of the show years later as a cast member. In 1992, Fallon chose the dickish major of computer science at the prestigious College of St. Rose in Albany, which nobody has ever heard of, and boasts a long list of alumni nobody has ever heard of either. Fallon was still a big fan of SNL and made a weekly event out of watching it in his dorm. It is not known whether he watched the entire live broadcast or was still receiving edited versions from his parents in the mail. Either way, the behavior exactly matched the classic Dick archetype of the guy who makes everyone watch SNL in his dorm common room. This could also be considered the first character work of young Fallon's career. Pat Robertson. Robertson received his bachelor's degree in history from the booze-drenched safety school Washington and Lee University. His claim that he was elected to Phi Beta Kappa Society is not corroborated by his society's membership directory. For reasons not fully understood, Robertson has described his academic career in the following words, quote, "Although I have worked hard at my studies, my real major centered around lovely young ladies who attended the nearby girls' schools." Historians agree that thinking too much about this statement is nauseating. Robertson's efforts to publicly confirm his heterosexuality continued into his service during the Korean War. According to Paul Brosman Jr., a veteran who served with Robertson, the future self-styled paragon of moral rectitude had, quote, numerous encounters with prostitutes and sexually harassed a cleaning girl. Bill O'Reilly. After a series of undistinguished broadcasting jobs in mid-tier markets, O'Reilly first rose to prominence through his CBS coverage of the Falklands War, see Dickipedia, Margaret Thatcher. However, O'Reilly swiftly torpedoed his relationship with CBS by accusing them of stealing his footage and using it in another reporter's piece. This incident was recapped in O'Reilly's 1998 novel. Those Who Trespass, in which thinly fictionalized versions of O'Reilly's former co-workers are brutally murdered. Post-Virginia Tech, this sort of writing is known as grounds for forcible institutionalization. In O'Reilly's case, however, the CBS fracas propelled him into an anchor job on Inside Edition, a tabloid infotainment program to which O'Reilly later inaccurately attributed multiple Peabody Awards and then still later inaccurately denied his initial inaccuracy and accused his chroniclers of describing his actions inaccurately. In 2008, a video surfaced depicting O'Reilly's jovial, warm attitude with his co-workers that made him a pleasure to work with, prompting him to deliver a graceful, on-air response. Ultimately, O'Reilly found his true home at Fox News, where he has used his own show, The O'Reilly Factor, to take down worthy targets ranging from the widows of 9/11 victims to the children of 9/11 victims. O'Reilly has successfully branded The O'Reilly Factor with the slogan, The No Spin Zone, which is sort of akin to branding Tehran America's #1 spring break hotspot. Tucker Carlson. Carlson's career as a journalist reached its brief peak in 1999 with his profile of #1 Dick George W. Bush in the debut issue of Dick Tina Brown's Talk magazine. When Bush mentioned that he had seen an interview in which Dick Larry King asked the soon-to-be executed Texas murderer Carla Faye Tucker what she would say to then-Governor Bush if she had a chance to meet with him, Carlson asked Bush what she answered. This provided a setup for one of the greatest moments of dickishness in the history of mankind, duly reported by Carlson. "Please," Bush whimpers, his lips pursed in mock desperation, "don't kill me." This is the only sentence ever written by Carlson that is worth reading. Carlson's career as a journalist began in 2000 with his co-hosting of CNN's The Spin Room, on which he represented the right against liberal Bill Press. The show was quickly canceled and Carlson began alternating with Dick Robert Novak as the conservative co-host of Crossfire, one of the major Dick fests in the annals of broadcasting. Despite his having appeared on hundreds of Crossfire programs, the only episode anyone remembers is from October 15th, 2004, when Daily Show host Jon Stewart berated Carlson and his liberal co-host / co-dick Paul Begala for their, quote, partisan hackery and begged them to, quote, stop hurting America. Carlson told Stewart, quote, "I do think you're more fun on your show," and Stewart told Carlson, "You're as big of a dick on your show as you are on any show." Less than 3 months later, Carlson learned that CNN would not be renewing his contract, and he signed with MSNBC. O.J. Simpson. As a lifelong dick who excelled at football, Simpson naturally found his way to a school known for both of these pursuits, the University of Southern California. At USC, Simpson became a star running back and won the Heisman Trophy in 1968. No Heisman winner has won by a larger margin of victory, nor has one ever gone on to be accused of murdering his ex-wife and Ron Goldman. And finally, Dr. Phil. Like most college football players, Dr. Phil went on to pursue a PhD in clinical psychology. He eventually earned one in 1979 from the University of North Texas and spent his first post-doc years owning and operating a construction business. Dr. Phil is not the first noted psychoanalyst to engage in this type of work. For instance, prior to devising the theory of synchronicity, Carl Jung was a vanishing-edge pool builder. Jean Piaget, in those heady days before genetic epistemology, installed custom cabinetry, and Bruno Bettelheim drove a snowplow. So those are the excerpts from Dickipedia. I hope you enjoyed it, and visit www.dickipedia.org. Thank you, and enjoy your time at YouTube.